Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Dawn of Fear. I played it on the PS4 because, you know, it's a PS4 exclusive. So Dawn of Fear is this throwback game to kind of recapture ye olde days of classic Resident Evil. You're returning to your family home for, I don't know if it's necessarily a reading of a will, but your mother had committed suicide after the death of your brother, and, you know, there's some drama like that going on. But the real meat of the story takes way too long to get into, and quite frankly, once you do get into it, it's not that good. And one thing that needs to be addressed, and this will bleed into the audio section, is there's no voiceover work. So everything is scripted, everything you are reading is actually like, you're reading dialogue, you're not hearing it. And the reason I bring this up is because this is made by a group out of, I would assume, Spain or Mexico, I'm not sure, but clearly English is not their first language, Spanish is, which is a problem because it really negatively affects the story being delivered when things are so poorly translated to English. So when you read these sentences, you have to reread them once or twice because you're sitting there going, wait, what? Oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to say. And that gets really distracting because obviously then you're no longer paying attention to the story, you're paying attention to how poorly translated it was. Which, as I said, that bleeds into the audio, which let's get into. As I stated, there's no voiceover work to judge this game on, and this game could have used some voiceover work because then they may have had some actors who spoke English as a first language, which if they had that, they may have gotten some editing to the script which would have improved it. Beyond that, the sound effects are shit. They sound like they're underwater. They sound really bad and just, they're not up to what we should be getting in this era, quite frankly. I understand this is an indie game and I will bring that up several times throughout this, but the music is also unimpressive. It's not really noticeable. It's so generic. It's may as well not even be there. Which, I mean, it fits with the quality of the sound effects. As for the gameplay, as I mentioned, this was supposed to be like a throwback to the classic Resident Evil, and you can play with ye olde Resident Evil controls, aka, you know, the tank controls. And yes, I know I'm making a lot of comparisons to Resident Evil, but that is the most common game for people to recognize these controls. But the old tank controls where you press up on the D-pad to move forward, left or right to turn left or right, etc. You can also use your analog stick in order to move, I would say, more freely, but the problem is it doesn't matter because movement either way is shit. It's terrible. It does not work well. Every time you change the angle based on like the camera angle, because it uses the fixed camera angle, your character will suddenly jerk to the left or right when you're using the free movement. And then when you're using the tank controls, he just doesn't turn well, so you don't feel like you have the control you need. You can press the L2 button to aim and the R2 button to fire, and it just isn't responsive. Pretty much all of my deaths were due to the fact that it wasn't responding and I'm pointing a gun right at them and it's like, no, you're not aimed at them, that's why your bullets are missing, and you have no real control over your aim. Oh god. It tries to be this cool throwback and it just does such a shit job. It's a terrible waste. It also tries to do the ye olde, like, weird puzzles. This house has these goofy, strange puzzles, like chessboards for puzzles. The problem is the clues are complete crap for them. So it's really just a lot of trial and error and not in a vaguely intelligible way. So that's complete trash. As for the controls, I already really touched on the controls. The controls are incredibly simple for this game, but they're garbage. And then let's get into the graphics. It's terrible there too. All the zombies look weird and glossy, and the art style is awful, and some of it is straight up stolen shit. Addressing the art style, they try so very hard to be grotesque, but because of the low quality of the graphics, it just doesn't look good, and it looks like they're trying way too hard. As for Stolen, the first creature that I ran into that wasn't a zombie was straight up stolen from The Suffering. Like, the second I saw it, I was like, that's one of those knife creatures from The Suffering. That's exactly what it is. Like, it's not even something you could say inspired by. it's just clearly a 100% ripoff. Beyond that, everything else just looks horrible in this game, and there's this huge issue with the world loading in. You're in this one house, it's not big, it's not detailed, it doesn't look good in any way, and yet you'll go into an area and it won't have loaded in. It'll just be this like purple blackish color, and eventually the further you move in, it will finally catch up, but it looks like shit. And this happened to me multiple times. There's just nothing well done with this game. To wrap this up, this won't take long. This is a dumpster fire of a game. I don't know how this exists. And if you're sitting there wondering why I bothered to play this game, well, that's simple. It's Sony's fault. That may sound dumb, but the thing is, this popped up on my Facebook feed on Sony's main page saying, you know, go play this. This is when this comes out. If Sony's gonna do that, they need to do some fucking quality control, because otherwise they're sending people to play this trash, which negatively affects people's opinion of Sony for marketing this game. Yeah, I understand it's cheap marketing, but they still were marketing and endorsing this dumpster fire. It's also fair to tell you that no, I did not complete this game because I don't like punching myself in the balls, and that's what playing this game feels like. So, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. I'm not recommending this game. Skip it. Don't even think about it. If you see it, gladly shun it. It's terrible. Which I do feel slightly bad about saying because, you know, it is an indie game, but there are hundreds and hundreds of high quality indie games out there. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me what is your most disappointing indie game? Since you haven't played this, I can safely tell you this would probably fit well on the list. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.